Okay, so let's get started with editing. By now, you should have already transferred all your clips from your card to your computer. If you haven't done that already, I suggest you go ahead and do that just to make sure that you have them all together and they're ready to go. Because when you start your project, it's going to make it easier if you have that all organized. The way that I have it organized is I've got the main folder and then any photos that I took and video clips that I shot, the music that I'm going to use, and I've also added in my logo because I know you'll probably want to add your logo to the end of this, especially if you're a photographer. If not, you don't have to. You don't have to at all. It's fine. But if you do, then it's good to just have that all in there because when we import it, then they're all going to just import in together as folders. So in Davinci Resolve, go ahead and just open that up and then go to New Project. So I'll call this Keepsake Film. And then create. And the first thing that you're going to want to do, actually, when you first open up Davinci Resolve, it's probably going to go through a series of setup for you. So you're going to have some slides to look at as like a tour of the software. So have a look through that. It's useful information. And then it's going to point to where you want things to save on your hard drive or an external hard drive. I work off an external hard drive, so I always make sure that mine is there. If you find that it's struggling with that, go up here into preferences, just check your media storage and make sure that your hard drive is located here. If it's not, you can add it here, right? So then once you've opened this up, my recommendation is you hop down here to the little settings and go to master settings and then change your frame rate. Now this is going to be based on what you shot. So if your footage is mostly 25 frames per second, then choose 25 and 25. If most of your footage is shot at, it's really going to be based on your base frame rate. So going back to the tutorial where I talked about frame rates before, make sure that you have your base frame rate, which is your standard frame rate that you have shot your footage in. If you have added any slow motion, you shot at a higher frame rate, then you're still going to have your base frame rate. And so whatever that is the way that you're going to be able to slow your footage down. So say, for example, I shot a lot of clips at 25 frames per second and I shot a couple of clips at 50 frames per second. Then I'm going to set my timeline frame rate to 25 and then I'm going to change my 50 frame rate clips to 25 and that is what slows them down. Okay, so if you're in America and you've shot a lot of clips at 60 frames per second and some clips at 30, then you're going to choose 30 frames per second here. If you've shot a lot of clips at 60 or some clips at 60 and then some clips at 24, you're going to choose 24 as your frame rate here. Okay, so just be aware of that. And my recommendation is that you would choose your base frame rate here. And then if you decide some of that high frame rate footage, you decide not to slow down, you don't have to. You can leave it to playback as normal and you don't have to change the frame rate. And it's fine to go into the timeline as 50 frames per second, sorry. So just know that that's what you need to be looking at. Also, just make sure that all of this matches, or your video format matches. The rest of it you can probably leave as is. And then your cache files location, just make sure that this is the same as where your clips are, okay? So if not, then change that here, okay? So then save. And then what you're looking at here is the edit workspace. There's a few other different workspaces down here, but we're just really gonna focus on the edit workspace. So over here on the left-hand side is where you're gonna import all of your media. And then they're going to show up here. So your folder system will show up here and then your media files will show up here. You'll be able to scrub through them and see them there and then watch them play back here. This is your timeline. So this is where you're going to be adding all of your clips as you go. This is where you actually create the film. And then when you play that back, it's going to play up here. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. That's what the screen, that's what all of the different little panels are. It's not as scary as it seems, I promise. So just go and find wherever it is that you have saved your video clips that you've done for this. And I'm just gonna go up here. I have actually already created folders in here that has the music that I've picked, my logo, these little slides that I created for her, and all of the video clips. So I'm just going to take this entire folder and drag it in here so that everything just drops in and populates. I probably wouldn't do that for a client film, and I definitely don't normally have all the photos in there together, but I just wanted to show you that's kind of what that looks like when you have a whole bunch of folders in there. So I'm in my video clips folder and all of the media is here. And so I'm just gonna open this up a little bit so I can see things a bit better. And I'm also gonna make them a bit bigger so that as I go through, I can see them really easily. Okay, and so then as I hover my cursor over, I can see the clip play back up here in this screen. And in order for it to stay there, I have to double click. You see how it turned red? If I double click on it, then when I move my cursor, it'll stay up here. So just make sure that you're doing that if you want to come over here and use these controls. Once it's in here, you can press, this is your play button, and then this is your back button. So that takes you to the beginning. This plays it in reverse, which is kind of cool. And this is your stop button. So when you press play, that plays it back. You can stop it, go backwards, go to the end, go to the beginning. All right, so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, if you're hovering over here and you also want to kind of do the same thing. So this is, what's great about this is it's just a really quick way of doing things. So you don't have to bring everyone up in here and double click and move around. It just makes it really quick, which is a little, it's similar to Premiere Pro, but a little different. So I'm gonna start with this clip, and I'm gonna start from before she does that cute little thing with her hand. Okay, so I'm gonna press I on my keyboard, and then O, where I want it to stop, okay? And then I'm just gonna click on this with my cursor and drag it down to the timeline. The computer's running a little bit slow, but that's what it'll do. So it has populated the timeline down here. You can see that, and I'm just gonna bring this down a little bit like that so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so you can see I have it down here on my timeline. This is the video clip and this is the audio clip, and they are linked together. Okay, so when I play this, it's right there together. Okay, next I'm just gonna go grab my music and drop that in too. Whoops, didn't drop. So now my music is underneath the audio that's linked to the video. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I'm gonna bring that up just so that I can see that a bit better. I'll go back up to my video clips, and I'm gonna play this back again. Another quick shortcut, keyboard shortcut, is to just press the space bar on your keyboard, and that'll also play it. Okay, so I'm gonna just bring this down a little bit and extend it out. So you can, if you have, you know, when you cut a clip, you're not ever actually cutting it. You're just taking a section of it and telling the program where you want it to start and stop within that clip, but all the data is still there. So if you decide that once you've got it on your timeline, you want to bring in a little bit more from, you know, the first section of it, then you can do that. So long as there's footage there, you can do that. So I'm gonna just... Okay, and then I'm gonna bring that out like that. Okay, I'm gonna bring this over just a bit more. And this audio is a little bit low, so I'm actually gonna just increase that here. So I can increase the volume of my audio just there. Okay. Now I don't want it to go into where she starts singing Baba Black Sheep, so I'm gonna just cut that out. And you can see just before, I'm just gonna undo. I just hit Command Z or Control Z to undo, so you can do that. And so you can see on the little waveform where the audio spikes. That's something good to look at just to see, you know, if you're looking for where a specific thing comes in. It's a good guide to look at. And so then the next thing that you're going to do is just go along and find whatever clips that you want to add in next. I like this, so I'm going to add this in. And I've done my in and out point. So you can see as I add it, you can see it's there, and I can change this if I want to. And then I'm going to drag the whole thing down. But I want more of that, so I'm going to just expand that. I know that she says more, so I'm going to just expand that down and increase the volume. Okay, and then I'm going to end it there and then bring that in, okay? And so then I go and I look through and play the clips and see if there's anything I want to have and add. And I just drag and drop and keep on going with what I'm doing based on the kind of story that I want to tell. And it really doesn't have to be...
The sun is reflecting on there. See? It's reflecting on that glass.
So remember that while I am over here, my in and out points are going to be based on where my cursor is over here, not where it's playing up there, unless I've double clicked on it and I'm playing it back in here. So that's one big difference between this and Premiere Pro.
It's reflecting on that glass.
Okay. But as I was saying before, I am just, you know, pulling in footage that I like, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't need to be literal. It doesn't need to be showing every tiny little thing that happened. But you know, having a big variety of clips is really good. You can see they're not very long, these clips, unless she's saying something that I want.
See? It's reflecting on that glass. And going to here.
So that's actually not the part of the clip I want.
Because the sun is...
There, I want to start from here.
The sun is reflecting on there.
So I've just hit I to set my endpoint there. You can also, I don't know if that doesn't set your endpoint. I think you have to set I. I'm sure there's another button you can press to set your endpoint. There is something like that in Premiere Pro. I just am not sure where it is here.
See? It's
but in I and O on your keyboard, I always just have my hands like hovering, one finger on I, one finger on O, and the other one on the space bar.
Reflecting on that glass.
There. So I'm gonna take that.
The sun is reflecting on there. See? It's reflecting on that glass.
Okay, and then I'm looking for another clip. Okay, so you can see that I'm looking through the footage. deciding on what I want to keep. And so for you, you need to go through, it's really good to go through every single clip. I'm not doing that here because I've already gone through it, but go through every single clip and see what little section of it you want to bring in. And it's really important to know that you don't need to include the entire thing. Sometimes less is more. So you really want to kind of have that visual interest of the different clips changing, but don't make them too quick, right? So there's a balance. I'm gonna show you really quickly because I've got a clip that's shot at 50 frames per second. So I'm gonna just pull up the clip attributes. I've right-clicked on it, go to the clip attributes. If you have shot any clips that are at 50 frames per second, then in order to slow them down and bring them onto your timeline as slow motion clips, you right click, go to clip attributes, and then change the frame rate here to 25 or to whatever the standard frame rate is that you're using. So if you shot at 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second even, but I would say 60 frames per second, then you will change it to whichever you've decided is your standard frame rate. So 24 or 30. I would probably lean towards 30 personally, but it's up to you what you want to do there. And if you have shot at 50 frames per second, you're going to change yours to 25. All right, so I'm going to leave the rest as it is. And then when I play this, you can see how it changes it to slow motion. I'm kind of see what it looks like if I go back to 50. See, when I leave it at 50, it just plays it back at normal speed, right? So if you have decided you want to just leave it at normal speed, you don't want to slow it down, you can also just bring that down to the timeline and it'll play, I think. It'll play it at normal speed. So you need to change it. And then pull whichever. And in this case, I would just pull the video and not the audio because it hasn't slowed down the audio. So then what you do in that case is just pull from this little icon here. This is your video, and then this is your audio. They're separate. So when you're pulling from the image, you're pulling both together. If you pull just one or the other, then you're just getting one or the other, right? So you're just your audio there. Oops. I didn't double click here, so it wasn't up there. So I'm gonna now try that again. Okay, so you can see how that works if you decide you wanna add in something that's slow motion. All right, so now let's say, because I know you're all photographers, so you probably want to add your logo at the end. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. And then if you wanted to add in something that was a transition or of some sort so that it's not just super obvious when it comes in, I'll show you how to do that too. So let's say you want to end your clip, your mini keepsake film, and you want to add your logo at the end. The best thing to do is, if you were working in Premiere Pro, you could just bring a PSD file in, which is super handy. That's one of the reasons why I like to use Adobe, because it all just works together. But you just need a PNG file to do the same thing in Davinci Resolve. So, or, you know, if you have an animated logo, you can include that too, but I'm guessing you probably don't. So let's go up to Effects Library, click on that, and then that's gonna pull up all of your different transitions. So video transitions is where you would go, and then cross dissolve is always a good one to start with. And when you watch that playback, you'll see what it does. See how it just kind of goes in softly? So that's it. And if you had another slide you wanted to do at the beginning, you know, so do it in Photoshop with a transparent background and then make it white or whatever if you want to put it over your footage then do it that way. If you wanted to have it just on a solid color background, save it as a JPEG and have a white background, or create a white background for it. Whatever you decide to do, that's up to you. But that's just a really simple way of doing that. Now, if you're working with audio and you want to transition your audio clips and kind of make them a smoother entrance or exit, which is always a good thing to do, you also have audio transitions down here. So play around with these and see which of these work well for your audio sections, because they can kind of make a smoother entrance and exit for your audio. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to do the export in a different tutorial, but that's it for this, and I hope that you've enjoyed it and that it's been really helpful, and I can't wait to see the films that you create. Chat soon.